Hi guys, today we are looking at action height on Fender style guitars. We've got a US Strat here ready to adjust. We looked at Gibsons last time. Strats are a little bit more complicated. Do you want to sort of talk about why?
Well, basically they have 6 individual saddles, okay? So to get your action height right, you need to set the action height at the bass and on the treble.
Yeah. And
then you need to radius the bridge saddles, okay?
Sure, so that's kind of making the strings match the curvature of the fretboard, essentially.
When you find that the bridge saddles are slightly under radiused, a little bit too flat, okay?
Yeah.
Against the curvature of the fretboard, you'll find that the G and the B are closer to those frets, just a little bit, okay?
Okay.
So they do need to match that fretboard radius, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
We have a radius gauge.
Okay, so let's take a look at that.
These are quite common, okay?
Okay, and how would you find out the radius of your fretboard?
Well, if you don't know from when you purchase a guitar, or if you haven't got any details on it in the case, etc., what you can do is just place the radius gauge on the fretboard like that, or over the fret. Okay. When the strings are off, on the fretboard is best.
Okay.
But it's not imperative. Okay.
Okay.
There's something called compound radius, where the fretboard is actually getting flatter.
Okay.
Okay. So if you're unsure, you measure at the 12th fret and at the 17th fret.
Okay, fair enough.
And basically, if those two are the same, then it's not compound.
Sure. And would I be right in saying that most fretboards are not compound?
Yeah. If you've got a compound radius, you will probably know about it.
Yeah. You'll show off about it. Absolutely.
You know, if you've just bought a guitar on eBay or something, then just maybe it's worth
just checking.
And
as a general rule, with Fenders, I know that they are more likely to be one thing. We did briefly touch on it in the Gibson video. So a standard US Strat or Tele, indeed, you're mostly going to be looking at 9.5.
A 9.5 inch radius. Yeah. Okay. The 7.25 inch radius, again, you'll probably know about it because they're vintage radiuses.
Sure.
They're more than likely on reissue guitars. Okay. Or on specific models, and I would suspect you'll know about that.
Okay, fair enough.
Similarly, I think you'd probably know when it's a flatterboard, a 12-inch radius, on a Strat or a Tele style, because it would be a modern radius.
Okay.
But again, you can check that with the radius gauge, either with the strings on or off.
And what kind of radius do they go up to? So I guess the super flat guitars, that's going to be more your sort of metal kind of shreds. Faster guitars.
Yeah, and they could be 16-inch radius or even 20-inch radius.
20, really? So
that's quite flat.
That's like the table, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So, first off, we measure the 12th fret at the bass side and the treble side.
Yeah.
And on this guitar, we're just going to set up to spec, okay, to factory spec, which would be 3 30-seconds on the 12th and 2 30-seconds on the treble.
3 and 2, okay, yeah.
And then we'll look at the radius.
So it's slightly higher on the bass side, is that?
Ever so slightly.
Okay, fair enough. I guess that's probably just to allow for the bigger string to sort of...
So as you can see, that's just under 3 30-seconds, but that's good enough.
Perfect. Yep, that's great.
Okay, and on the treble side, it's bang on 2 30-seconds.
Perfect.
Now, if that were a little bit higher, okay, the saddles, the bridge saddles, all have little grub screws, okay?
Okay, let's take a look at those.
So, with the correct Allen key head, okay, and again, you may have these Allen keys supplied with the guitar, particularly on this, the US, you probably would.
Okay.
So these can just go in these grub screws, and you can just turn that to lower it.
Sure.
Anti-clockwise or clockwise to raise the height.
Perfect. So just to be clear, that's not a screwdriver that it can be a screwdriver, I'm sure, but it's got an Allen key sort of head on that. So it's a very sort of specific tool. So as I say, if you've got the Allen key with your guitar, that'll do the job.
Yeah. So these 2 outer E's are correct.
Perfect.
Okay. So now we want to get all of the strings correct to the fretboard radius. Okay?
Right, I see.
So this is a 9.5-inch radius fretboard. So what you want to have is the radius gauge sitting on the outer E's.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see if we can get...
And as you may be able to see, and you just rest it on there, just very, very lightly, okay?
Yeah.
You might be able to see some light just coming through.
Yeah, there's light without your hand. Without your hand there, it's you can see some light shining on the. I guess that's.
And also, you should be able to hear it. Okay.
Okay.
These will ring. So that's touching.
Okay.
So that's good. So is the E and the E.
Okay.
So the B, the G, and the D are slightly under radius.
Okay.
So that would mean we could probably measure it like this. So the fretboard, sorry, the bridge saddles are radius to 12 inch, but the fretboard's 9.5.
Right. Okay.
So these are slightly flatter to the board.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we need to do, just very simply with that on, and then I'm going to put that screw in the grub screw there.
Yeah, I see.
Just raise it up. And also, what you want to do is raise these two grub screws together. So raise that one up, and then raise this second one up the same amount.
Okay, fair enough.
just do a little quarter turn.
So you want to try and keep the saddles flat so that if you
Yes, because if you have the two grub screws at slightly different heights, you'll move the saddle out a little bit.
I see.
So when the two grub screws are nice and together, that's great. Also, the other thing is with them, say on the G, if you've got a grub screw which is a little bit lower, it's held up by the B and the D.
I see, I've had that, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
And at some point, it may just drop.
Of course.
And then you'll think, why is the G string completely choking or buzzing or something?
And from a tonal perspective, is there an advantage to having them sort of touching each other like that, kind of all resonating together?
Yeah, as well as when they fan out a little bit and are not touching, you are exaggerating that string pitch. Okay?
Sure.
So your strings, your outer strings will be closer to the beveled edge.
Okay, so you could
that would impede for playability again.
Absolutely, and also I guess maybe slightly affecting the intonation as well.
Quite possibly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we raise the B up a little bit, and we're going to just do the same with the G until it just touches and rattles against that radius gauge.
Yeah.
And we know we're touching. Okay. Now, I'd say it's slightly more common that they're under radiused, okay? Because if they've been done by eye, I suspect it's just slightly under radiused.
Okay. So that means they're a little bit too flat.
Yeah, now I've hardly got any tension on that. I'm not pushing down at all.
Yeah.
If you find that once you've got your outer E's correct, and you find that the radius gauge is not sitting on the outer E's, therefore the 4 strings in the middle are too high.
So that's over radius.
Over radius, okay. Or everything's just high in the right radius. Best thing to do is just to lower those 4 strings just until you know you can sit this radius gauge on your outer E's.
Sure.
And then slowly bring them up.
I see. So a similar method in a way to the tuning. You want to go too low.
Yeah.
Then bring it up.
And as we've adjusted and gone north on a few of these, we've raised them, okay? They will have gone sharp.
Sure.
So now it's just a question of just retuning.
I see. Yep. So back to standard tuning. And it's pretty much there, really. I think this is going to be playing absolutely beautifully. Probably even better than what the day that it came off the shelf.
And that's action height, okay,
yeah.
and that radius, okay. You won't find sort of specs for every individual string, okay.
Okay.
What you will find is your outer E's,
and the radius,
and what radius it is.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know, you can check it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. And if it makes sense to me, then it definitely makes sense to everybody else, I'm sure. So great, that's fantastic, and I would say we're well on the way to a really good setup there. Would you
Absolutely,
agree?
yeah.
I think the neck height, I don't know about you, but for me personally, once the neck height's right and the action is right, there's a few other things that we need to look at, absolutely, but that's most of the battle done.
Absolutely right. Absolutely.
We should briefly point out that a lot of the time with Telecasters, especially on the vintage style bridges, you do get 3 saddles, so that the strings are in
so in that case, you would go against doing each grub screw perfectly. You do put that
they need to be
movement in it. So the radius is in those. The grub screws are helping that radius for sure.
So you have special permission. To do wonky grub screws on a 3
and sometimes they might fan out a little bit, so you can just pinch them in if you're finding it's starting to pinch on the neck. But
I guess your middle
not usually
one
the case.
Sure,
and I guess your middle one
will be straight. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Brilliant. Okay, so that's us for action height on Fender style guitars. We'll see you next time.